Hi family, and welcome to another tutorial video. In today's video we are going to carry on with the garment we were making in our previous video. That was the part 1 of the Holy Communion dress. In that video we had done the bodice drafting, and then we had gone ahead to transfer the draft onto fabric. So that was where we got to. If you've not yet seen that video, please, I'll advise that you go and have a look at that video before jumping onto this one. Then you have a better understanding of what we're doing here. This is a step-by-step tutorial video on how I did my daughter's Holy Communion dress. It takes you right from the beginning of the garment creation to the end of the finished product, where you would see the actual garment in full view. All right. Now, if you're watching me for the very first time, I would like to say a massive thank you for joining us and being a subscriber of this amazing family. If you've not yet subscribed to this channel, I would advise that you subscribe now and hit on the notification bell just so that you'll be notified anytime a new video is uploaded. On this channel, we upload videos on dressmaking, on bag making, on soap making, on jewelry making, and on millinery. So you stand to benefit a lot when you come on this video. Let's get right into the project. What you can see me now is trying to embellish my neck area and my upper torso or my front bodies. I'm trying to give some creation over there to make my design very appealing. So what I'm doing now is an applique. All right, this was already made, but I'm trying to position it and arrange it such that it looks seamless. It came in bits, so in 2 halves, and I'm just trying to position it in the format or in the way that I want it to look on the frontal part of the garment. So that's exactly what I have done. I've positioned it. I'm trying to cut out my neckline using my original fabric as a guide. Now you could see that a bead pop up over there. Yes, that is because the applique has beads in there. So I'm going ahead to cut it out, my neckline out, and then further go ahead to hand stitch the applique onto the front bodies. You see me do that in a minute before we carry on and finish the neckline. Okay, so let's get into it. You can see me cutting some bits of my applique and trying to join them in bits. This is basically because I want my design to look very seamless. So it looks like it came in one whole bit. It didn't. I've had to join them up just for it to look the way I want it to. So basically that's what I'm doing. What I'm also doing further here is to cut out the beads from the extra pieces I trimmed off and then stitch them back into the applique. So that's what you're seeing me do here. I'm going to do a hand stitching work, and as I pull my hand needle through, I will string on some of the beads I initially cut out of the extras or the pieces of my applique as I try to shape it up. I hope I'm making sense. So it's basically to hand stitch the applique down. I did not want to use a machine to stitch it here. I did a lot of needlework here just for it to look professionally made, basically. So let's enjoy it. Great. So now what I'm doing is trying to finish off my neckline. So I went ahead to cut a lining just the same shape as my main fabric for my front bodice pattern. So I've attached the lining and my main fabric together on the wrong side. So I put the right side of my main fabric on the right side of my lining. I hope that is making sense. So the right side of the fabric's coming together and I'm stitching on the wrong, and that's exactly what I have done. I'm trying to finish off my U neckline, and that's exactly what I'm doing with my machine here. When I'm done stitching it all round, just around the neckline, I'm going to grab my scissors and make some incisions, or would you say cuts, into the neckline area. The reason why I would do that is because the neckline is a rounded shape, or is a U neckline. Anytime you're stitching in a round or in a curve, you'd have to make those cuts. This makes it easier for you to have a perfect finish, and also when you turn it over, you get a perfect U shape. You see me do that now, and it will explain better as you watch me do it. So you can see that my neckline is much of a U shape, quite deep, a little bit. And if I do not cut it, turning it over, or when I flip it over to the right side, my shape will not be as defined and definite as I want it to. So making these cuts along your neckline actually aids your shape look much better, and it eases the neckline, eases out beautifully as well, and it lies and sits on your model very well, and you see it in a minute, especially after you've done the top stitch and you've ironed it out. We'll do all that in a minute, and then you get a better understanding of exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so with this done, I'm going to go ahead and do a top stitch. This is where I pull all my seam allowance towards my lining, and then I do a very tiny stitch very close to my actual neckline, just to keep my lining lying in place and not trying to poke out of my neckline. I hope I'm making all sense. So it's basically trying to finish off the seam around my neckline, and I hope I've been able to draw emphasis on there from where I sit. So basically my lining will lie in the place where I want it to be, and will not have to stick out of my neck area. And that's the essence of a top stitch when you do it on your lining. So that's what I've done over there. So I'm going to put my iron to it, and you see that the lining is lying just in the right place as I want it to. Okay, I would say that the iron is the tailor or the dressmaker's friend. We go hand in hand, and it makes our projects always very easy. For me, that is how I work. A little bit of stitching, then I go to my iron to iron it all out, and it makes the stitching very, very easy. Wow, this is absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to go ahead and work on my back bodice block with the front bodice block done up to this point. I'm going to carry on with the back bodice block, and then I'll bring it back, and then we join both blocks together. All right. So I've gone ahead to cut my lining for my back bodice as well, just the same as I did for the front bodice. I cut exactly the same pattern for my back bodice block. You get it? So for the back bodice block, what you saw me cut earlier, I cut the lining version of it. What I'm doing now is to finish my back neckline and my zipper line or zipper area. You remember we had left 1 inch for our zipper allowance. I'm trying to finish all of that beautifully, but you have to just stick and stay, and in the end you'll be able to see what I have done. You remember from the previous video that I cut the zipper area into 2 halves. So we have, if you have to put them into 2 quarters, we have the right and the left part of it. I don't want to confuse you too much, but I believe that when you see it, you'll be able to make sense of exactly what I'm talking about. So it's basically finishing off my back neckline and my zipper area, which I'm going to be putting together in a minute. So I'm going to turn it inside out here and put my iron to it as well. Just as we did for the front, it's the same thing we're doing for the back here. So I'm going to turn it inside out. I'll go back and do a top stitch as well on my lining, but I'm going to go ahead and iron it out now, and you see me do that in a minute. So the back neckline went into a V shape. So that was a manipulation I did there for the back neckline that was in a V shape. So that's what I'm doing there now. And when I put both pieces together, you get a better understanding of exactly what I'm talking about. Great, so that is it right there. What you're seeing as an overlap, that is the 1-inch zip allowance I had left when I was drafting. That will be taken in when we are ready to fix our zip. All right. So let's go to the machine and do a top stitch right here. The top stitch we are doing, like you remember from the front bodice block, is basically to let our lining stay in place. So I'm going to be pushing my seam allowance towards my lining and do a top stitch on top of my lining, just to make sure that all of my lining stays in place when the wearer or the model puts it on, and then my lining is not puckering through my neck area. Okay, so basically that is what a top stitch is for, and that is what it's all about basically. Great progress. Now we have the front bodice block or garment finished, and we have the back bodice finished as well. It's left for us to join both pieces together. We are going to be joining it at the shoulder. All right, I'm going to pick the front bodice block and put it on the back bodice block. I'm going to make sure that the right side of the garment will be facing each other. So I'm putting right on right. Exactly, that's what I have done. And I'm going to hold on to my front bodice block and my back bodice block at the shoulder. All right, so the shoulder of each block on the right and on the left, I'm going to hold it there, and I would match my necklines, making sure that those lines are matching before I stitch at the shoulder. So you watch me do that, and hopefully that will give you a better explanation of exactly what I'm talking about. With the help of my pins, I'm going to hold the shoulders together. Okay, I've done it for this end already. As you can see, I'm doing it for the second half. So in putting them together, I've put my shoulders together for the fabric and for the lining. So you are matching both pieces at the shoulder together with your pins before we go to the machine and run our permanent stitch over there. Great, so that is it with the pins. As you can see, I've done the stitching already. I'm going to my iron to iron my seam allowance open. All these little bits make a lot of difference, and you see it show in your end product. All right, so I would advise that you iron as you go ahead. You'll see me that I have just ironed open my seam allowance at the shoulder. That's what I'm trying to show you over there. All right, now both pieces have been joined at the shoulder. This looks amazing, just as I wanted it. So I'm going to try and see if my measurements based on my body's draft is still in place, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I've run my draft back to see if my neckline is matching with my draft and everything else, and if there's any adjustment to be made, like cutting off and all of that. You can see that the armhole for the back at this point, after we finish stitching, looks like it's quite bigger. So those are the adjustments and the cuttings and all those things that I'll be doing at this minute. I'm going to be checking my measurements, my bust measurements again, my waist measurement, my shoulder measurement. As I'm stitching, I'm checking. So I'm not just stitching, I'm stitching a little bit, and then I'll check and see that all my measurements are still in place, just so that we get the exact garment size we're looking for our model for a perfect fit. So that's basically what I'm doing here. So I'm that sure of my measurements. I'm going to go ahead and reshape my garment, my fabric, to make sure that everything is in place, and that's exactly what you see me do now. I'm cutting some excess of my sides and around my armhole, just redoing the shaping, and basically that's what I'm doing at this point. Okay. Perfecto. So let's get on with it. At this point, everything is coming out just the way I wanted it to be. So as I flip it on the back, you can see that the gap I left for my zip allowance. Don't worry about that. We'll come back to that in a minute. But I carry on checking my back and seeing that everything is perfectly in place. And I'm so pleased with the outcome so far. Let's get on, and I believe you're enjoying it. If at this point you're yet not a subscriber, please hit on the subscription button and the notification bell, just so that you'll be notified anytime a new video is uploaded. Like I said, this is a very lengthy video, so I'm going to be uploading them in bits. I don't know how many parts I'm left with, but this I know is the part 2. I'll keep uploading the other parts until I finish uploading the full garment tutorial. Okay, all these styles you're seeing are dresses that were made here as skilled hands by our women. These were the dresses our models wore on the red carpet at the fundraising event. If you're looking forward to be making some of these dresses, you can join our evening classes, which we have on Mondays if you live in Nottingham. We've also introduced our after school clubs for 8 to 16-year-olds, and if you want to sign up your children, you can do that. Come, let's have fun and create something beautiful together. Take care. Bye.